Picture a country where watching a foreign movie could get you executed. A land where one man's breakfast costs more than most families make in a year. A place where millions starve while their leader dines on imported caviar, travels in private jets, and commands a secret army of women chosen for his pleasure. This isn't fiction, it's not a dystopian movie. This is North Korea, the most isolated and controlled nation on Earth. Here, 25 million people live under constant fear. They're cut off from the internet, foreign news, and even the right to travel freely. The borders are sealed, and the truth is buried deep behind propaganda and lies. But beneath the silence lies a story of unimaginable luxury for the ruling elite and unimaginable suffering for everyone else. What shocking secrets hide behind this modern-day kingdom of control? And how did one family rule over an entire nation like gods for more than 7 decades? Stay till the end, because once you see what life is really like behind North Korea's borders, you'll understand why the world fears this tiny nation so much. North Korea sits in East Asia, taking up the northern half of the Korean peninsula. It's roughly the size of England, about 120,000 square kilometers, but to its 25 million citizens, it might as well be another planet. The country borders China and Russia to the north and South Korea to the south. Between the two Koreas lies the most heavily militarized border on the planet, the Demilitarized Zone, or DMZ. It's packed with barbed wire, landmines, and soldiers standing ready 24 hours a day. Everyone here speaks Korean, but their world has been rewritten by the government. The state controls every school, every newspaper, every song, every belief. What they call communism is actually a royal dictatorship, where one bloodline has ruled for more than 70 years. This regime doesn't just govern, it owns its people. Citizens are assigned where to live, what to eat, and even what to think. Everyday life revolves around serving the supreme leader, a title treated as divine. North Korea is rich in coal and iron, but it barely uses its natural wealth. Factories are silent, lights flicker only a few hours a day, and famine has wiped out entire regions. Instead of rebuilding the nation, the government spends billions on weapons and on luxury goods for the ruling family. Despite its economic collapse, North Korea's location gives it deadly importance. It sits right between China and the US, backed allies South Korea and Japan. That's why, even though the country produces little and exports almost nothing, the world can't afford to ignore it. One wrong move here could trigger a global crisis. Most people don't realize that North Korea wasn't always separate. It used to be part of a single, united Korea until the end of World War II. When Japan's empire collapsed in 1945, the peninsula was split in two. The Soviets took control of the north, and the Americans occupied the south. The division was supposed to be temporary, but Cold War politics turned it permanent. In 1950, the North invaded the South, sparking the brutal Korean War. It lasted 3 years and killed millions. Cities were flattened, families torn apart. When the fighting stopped in 1953, both sides signed only a ceasefire, not peace. Technically, the two Koreas are still at war today. After the war, a man named Kim Il-sung took total control of the North. He built a cult around himself, statues, portraits, songs, and propaganda, declaring him the eternal leader. He promised equality but created a dynasty. His face became sacred, his word became law. When Kim Il-sung died in 1994, his son, Kim Jong-il, inherited the throne, turning what was supposed to be a socialist republic into a family kingdom. And when Kim Jong-il died in 2011, his son, Kim Jong-un, took over. 3 generations, one bloodline ruling a nation like an empire trapped in time. The result? A country that's more like a prison than a nation, where loyalty means survival and questioning the leader means death. After the death of Kim Il-sung in 1994, his son Kim Jong-il inherited absolute power, and what followed was one of the most bizarre and disturbing reigns in modern history. While his people were starving, Kim Jong-il lived in luxury that rivaled Hollywood stars and European monarchs combined. He was short, sickly, and paranoid, but also completely obsessed with pleasure, cinema, and control. Kim Jong-il was a movie fanatic. He reportedly owned over 20,000 films, including Hollywood blockbusters, and spent nights watching them while drinking imported French wine and smoking expensive cigars. But his obsession didn't stop there. He kidnapped a famous South Korean director, Shin Sang-ok, and his actress wife, Choi Eun-hee, in the late 1970s. Their mission? To create propaganda films that would make North Korea look powerful and cultured. For 8 years, the couple was forced to work as Kim's personal movie slaves before finally escaping during a trip abroad. This was Kim Jong-il's world, a twisted mix of fantasy, paranoia, and absolute power. Perhaps the most disturbing symbol of his rule was something whispered about even inside North Korea, the Pleasure Squad. A secret group of nearly 2,000 young women handpicked from across the country based on their beauty, purity, and loyalty. They were trained to sing, dance, and perform for the ruling elite. But behind the rehearsed smiles and glittering uniforms, many were forced into far darker roles, some becoming personal companions or concubines for Kim and his inner circle. Teenagers were taken from their homes under the pretext of serving the nation. Most never saw their families again. For Kim, they were status symbols, another way to prove that he was untouchable, a god among men. Kim Jong-il had several mistresses and numerous secret children, each hidden away in luxury villas guarded by soldiers. The women who bore his children were rewarded with mansions and wealth, but they could never leave or speak publicly about their lives. They lived in gilded cages trapped inside the fantasy world of a dictator. While the nation was enduring one of the worst famines in modern history, known as the Arduous March, when hundreds of thousands starved to death, Kim Jong-il was living like an emperor. He owned dozens of palaces scattered across the country. He traveled only by a bulletproof private train equipped with fine wines, lobster, and imported dancers. He had his own private island where he threw lavish parties for generals and foreign guests, complete with luxury yachts and champagne flown in from France. One of his chefs, who later defected, claimed Kim was obsessed with perfection, ordering Japanese sushi flown in fresh by private jet and insisting on the finest Hennessy cognac, spending millions on it every year. Meanwhile, outside those palace walls, people were eating grass and bark to survive. Children fainted in schools from hunger, entire families disappeared into the darkness of famine. Kim Jong-il was fully aware of their suffering, but he didn't care. In his mind, North Korea existed to serve him, not the other way around. By the time he died in 2011, Kim Jong-il had turned his country into a living nightmare. He left behind a nuclear program, a broken economy, and a traumatized population, along with a son who had been raised to rule like a god. That son, Kim Jong-un, would soon prove that the madness of this dynasty was far from over. When Kim Jong-il died in 2011, his youngest son, Kim Jong-un, was barely in his late 20s. Most outsiders thought he was too inexperienced to hold power. They were wrong. Within months, Kim Jong-un had purged rivals, executed generals, and cemented himself as the unchallenged ruler of the most secretive nation on earth. Behind his calm public image lies a man completely obsessed with luxury, power, and control. He inherited not only his father's throne, but also his vices, and took them to another level. Kim Jong-un lives like a billionaire movie villain. He owns multiple private jets, a fleet of luxury yachts, and a collection of exotic cars, Ferraris, Rolls-Royces, and armored Mercedes limousines. He even imported a massive pleasure boat described by defectors as a floating palace with marble floors, karaoke rooms, and private cinemas. Satellite photos show sprawling seaside villas and mountain resorts built for his personal use, complete with ski slopes and private hunting grounds. And yet, outside these gilded walls, millions of North Koreans fight for scraps of food. Entire villages survive on cornmeal and grass soup. In winter, families burn furniture to stay warm. Intelligence reports estimate Kim spends over $300 million a year on personal luxury items, while the average citizen earns less than $2 a day. Like his father, Kim Jong-un revived the infamous Pleasure Squad. If you're enjoying the video, make sure to subscribe for more amazing stories like this one. Let's continue. Thousands of young women are still recruited under the guise of serving the nation. Selected for their looks, they're taken from schools and trained in etiquette, music, and dance before being assigned to entertain the regime's elite. Some become attendants, others singers, but many vanish into the dictator's inner world. They are rarely seen again. His wife, Ri Sol-ju, once a performer herself, has been largely hidden from public view since 2019. When she appears, she's perfectly styled, always smiling beside him, but defectors say her life is tightly controlled, monitored by guards, and stripped of freedom. Inside Kim's secret estates, nights turn into lavish parties that defy imagination. Foreign alcohol flows freely: Hennessy, Scotch, French wine served with imported lobsters and caviar. Chefs are flown in from Europe and Japan to prepare meals to the ruler's taste. Witnesses who escaped describe seeing Western music, neon lights, and soldiers serving as waiters while Kim laughs with his inner circle. All this in a country where children scavenge through garbage for food. Every luxury is a performance, a reminder to his loyalists that he is the only one allowed to live like this. Even Kim's leisure is built on fear. He's known to execute officials for small mistakes or signs of disloyalty. One general was reportedly blown apart by an anti-aircraft gun during a public execution. Another was allegedly killed for falling asleep during a meeting. For Kim, absolute control isn't just political, it's personal theater. His message is simple: I can give you anything or take everything away. The Kim dynasty has now ruled North Korea for over 70 years. 3 generations of power built on fear, secrecy, and blind devotion. But Kim Jong-un has added a dangerous twist: modern technology, digital propaganda, and nuclear weapons that make his tiny nation one of the world's biggest threats. He presents himself as confident, almost friendly in public appearances. But behind the smile is a regime more paranoid and ruthless than ever. While the Kim family lives in palaces filled with imported wine, marble floors, and foreign cars, the rest of North Korea lives in quiet, endless suffering. Step outside the polished streets of Pyongyang, the capital built to impress foreigners, and you'll see the truth. Gray concrete cities, cracked roads, and people walking miles to carry buckets of water because their homes have no plumbing. Most North Koreans live in small, freezing apartments with almost no heating, and power that flickers on for only a few hours a day. Electricity is so scarce that many people cook with charcoal and light their homes with candles. Winters here are brutal. Temperatures drop far below zero, and families huddle under thin blankets to survive the night. For the average citizen, hunger is not a crisis, it's a way of life. The average North Korean is about 2 inches shorter than their southern neighbors, a living reminder of decades of malnutrition. Meals are repetitive and meager: a small bowl of rice, some vegetables, maybe a piece of fish on rare occasions. Meat is a luxury most people taste only a few times a year. During the worst famine of the 1990s, entire villages starved. Survivors tell stories of eating grass, bark, and even rats just to stay alive. Many still do. Ration cards are supposed to provide food, but what they offer isn't enough for survival. So people secretly trade, steal, or risk their lives buying food from black markets, because being caught can mean imprisonment or execution. In a nation where the government owns everything, hunger becomes the weapon of control. The Kim regime decides who eats and who doesn't. Freedom doesn't exist in North Korea. Citizens can't travel between cities without written permission. Trying to cross the border is seen as treason, punishable by death, not just for the person escaping, but for their entire family. Those caught attempting to flee are publicly executed, their families sent to labor camps to die slowly. Even moving from a village to the capital requires approval from the government. The capital, Pyongyang, is reserved for the loyal elite party members, soldiers, and people with perfect political records. Everyone else is left behind in poverty. There is no internet, no access to foreign media. If you're enjoying the video, make sure to subscribe for more amazing stories like this one. Let's continue. No social media and no outside news. Radio and TV are state-controlled, broadcasting constant praise for the supreme leader. Children grow up singing songs about him before they even learn to write. Every morning, citizens are forced to attend gatherings, to recite slogans, thank their leader, and confess even the smallest mistakes. At work, they pretend to be busy in factories that haven't produced anything for years. They march, salute, and smile on command because not smiling can be seen as a crime. Foreign visitors only see carefully staged cities, choreographed parades, and happy citizens waving flags. But behind those smiles are people who've learned that fear keeps you alive. From birth, every child in North Korea is taught one truth: the leader is a god. Their classrooms are decorated with portraits of Kim Il-sung and Kim Jong-il. Every book, every lesson, every TV show reminds them that their country is paradise and that the outside world is full of evil. Even children are taught to spy on their parents and report anything that sounds suspicious. Imagine growing up in a place where a single wrong word at the dinner table could destroy your entire family. This is how the regime survives, not through loyalty, but through fear, carefully disguised as love. Most North Koreans have never seen the world at night because their own country goes dark after sunset. Satellite images show the truth. South Korea glowing with light, North Korea swallowed in total blackness except for one faint dot, Pyongyang, the city of illusion. 25 million people live in that darkness, never knowing what real freedom, opportunity, or truth looks like. In North Korea, there are no secrets, at least, not from the government. The country runs one of the most terrifying surveillance systems in human history. Every street, every neighborhood, every workplace has informants, ordinary citizens who report on one another to the secret police. Your best friend could be an informant, your neighbor, even your child. The state encourages people to spy on their own families. Children are told that loving the leader comes before loving their parents. A careless whisper, a complaint, even a joke can lead to your arrest, and the punishment isn't just for you. In North Korea, guilt is inherited. If one person commits a crime, such as criticizing the government or trying to escape, their entire family, parents, children, even grandchildren are arrested and sent to prison camps. These camps are known as Kwanliso, and they are among the darkest places on Earth. Satellite images show massive fenced compounds tucked deep in mountain valleys, far from any city. Inside, more than 200,000 prisoners live and die in silence. People are beaten, tortured, and forced to work from sunrise to sunset in freezing conditions. Defectors describe seeing prisoners collapse from exhaustion, their bodies buried in unmarked graves. One former guard testified that prisoners were executed for stealing food or trying to escape, and that families were made to watch. Some camps have been in operation for decades, with generations born and dying without ever seeing the outside world. In these places, human life has no value. The regime uses the camps to erase anyone who dares to think independently. Fear isn't limited to the camps, it's everywhere. Public executions are used as warnings. Entire towns are forced to gather and watch as people are shot or hanged for crimes, as simple as watching a foreign film or stealing a handful of corn. When people see this, they learn one lesson: never question the state. That fear seeps into every part of life. It keeps the streets quiet. It keeps the population obedient. And it ensures that even after 70 years, no one dares to challenge the Kim dynasty. On paper, North Korea calls itself a self-reliant socialist paradise. In reality, it's an economic disaster. Most factories don't produce anything anymore. There's no fuel, no parts, no electricity, but workers are still forced to show up, pretend to work, and chant slogans praising the regime. They aren't paid in real money. Instead, they get ration cards, scraps of food or goods that are barely enough to survive. The country's currency, the North Korean won, is almost worthless. People prefer to trade with Chinese yuan or US dollars if they can find them. The government knows this, but pretends not to. Because if they admitted the truth that their economy is dead, the illusion of control would collapse overnight. Despite the regime's propaganda, North Koreans have found ways to survive. Across the country, secret black markets called Jangmadang have quietly taken over daily life. Here, people trade food, clothes, medicine, and even smuggled USB drives carrying South Korean dramas or Western movies. These markets are illegal, but the regime tolerates them because without them, millions would starve. It's a strange balance. The government pretends to control everything, but in truth, it survives only because people break its rules every day. In Pyongyang, the elite live in modern apartments, drive imported cars, and shop in stores filled with foreign goods. But those privileges belong to less than 5% of the population: party members, soldiers, and spies loyal to Kim. The other 95% live in silence, poverty, and hunger, working endlessly for a system that gives them nothing in return. It's a country split into two worlds, one built on power, wealth, and lies, and another built on fear, survival, and silence. While millions of North Koreans struggle to find enough food to survive, their government spends billions building weapons of mass destruction. This is the ultimate paradox of the Kim regime: starving people, yet a growing nuclear arsenal. Since the 1960s, North Korea's leaders have pursued nuclear power as their lifeline. Kim Il-sung began the program as protection from foreign enemies. Kim Jong-il accelerated it to gain global leverage, and Kim Jong-un perfected it using nuclear weapons as both a shield and a bargaining chip. The country now possesses dozens of nuclear warheads and long-range missiles that can strike South Korea, Japan, and potentially even the United States. For Kim, these weapons are not about defense, they're about survival. They make him untouchable. They guarantee that no foreign army will dare remove him. While his people die from hunger, he pours the nation's limited resources into testing missiles, building underground bunkers, and showing off new rockets on military parades. Each launch, each explosion, each fiery trail across the sky is a message to the world. We may be poor, but we are dangerous. But every test comes at a cost. International sanctions tighten, trade collapses, food shortages grow worse, and yet Kim refuses to stop. His nuclear weapons are his crown, his insurance, and his legacy. What the regime won't admit is the environmental nightmare it's created. Defectors from the test regions report strange illnesses, birth defects, and contaminated water near nuclear sites. But in North Korea, the truth is forbidden. The government hides the damage just as it hides everything else. To the outside world, crossing a border seems simple. In North Korea, it's a death sentence. The borders are lined with electric fences, mines, and armed guards ordered to shoot anyone who tries to flee. Still, every year, a few desperate people risk everything to escape their homes, their families, even their lives for a chance at freedom. Most head north into China because the southern border is impossible to cross. But China is no safe haven. It has an agreement with Pyongyang to send escapees back, where they face execution or lifelong imprisonment. To survive, defectors hide in forests, move by night, and depend on underground networks of missionaries and smugglers. Some are caught and sold as slaves or forced into marriages in rural China. Women, especially, suffer the worst. Many are abused, raped, or trafficked while on the run. A lucky few make it all the way to South Korea, or another free country. But even then, their journey isn't over. They carry deep scars, emotional, physical, and psychological. Many struggle with survivor's guilt, haunted by the family members they left behind. They arrive in a world they've been told all their lives was evil, only to discover that everything they believed was a lie. Imagine learning for the first time that electricity runs all day, that food is plentiful, that the internet connects people freely. For them, freedom is overwhelming. But it's also lonely because they can never go home. The world has tried everything: sanctions, diplomacy, threats, but nothing has broken the Kim regime. Economic sanctions mostly hurt the innocent, not the powerful. Humanitarian aid often ends up feeding the military instead of the people. Negotiations bring headlines, but no results. Each time, North Korea promises peace, then secretly continues building weapons. China remains its lifeline, trading food, oil, and goods that keep the dictatorship alive. Without China's support, the regime might collapse within months, but Beijing fears that a collapse would cause chaos. Millions of refugees flooding across its border, and US troops possibly moving north from South Korea. So the world watches and waits. Everyone knows the system is broken, but no one knows how to fix it without causing something worse. South Korea dreams of reunification, but experts estimate it would cost trillions of dollars and decades of rebuilding. The two Koreas have been apart for over 70 years. Their people speak the same language but live in entirely different worlds. And so the stalemate continues. The leaders stay rich, the people stay poor, and the world looks away. Yet even in darkness, cracks begin to form. Smuggled USB drives carrying South Korean dramas, Western movies, and news are quietly spreading through North Korea's black markets. For many young people, these are their first glimpses of the outside world, a forbidden window showing that life could be different. These small acts of defiance, watching a film, listening to a foreign song, dreaming of freedom, are dangerous, but they're also powerful. Change in North Korea won't come from armies or bombs. It will come from information from people realizing that the world beyond their borders isn't the nightmare they were told it was. Every idea, every whisper, every story smuggled in is a spark. And enough sparks can start a fire. North Korea today is a paradox, modern missiles and medieval living condition. A nation frozen in time, ruled by a single family that treats 25 million people as property. The Kim dynasty has turned fear into currency and worship into control. They've built a kingdom of silence where obedience is survival and truth is treason. Kim Jong-un sails his luxury yachts, drinks imported whiskey, and eats lavish meals prepared by foreign chefs. Meanwhile, a child in the countryside eats bark soup under candlelight. The contrast is so extreme it feels unreal, yet it's real every single day. The regime has lasted through famine, war, and global isolation because it knows one secret. If you control what people see, hear, and believe, you control their entire world. North Korea is not just a country. It's a warning, a living example of what happens when power goes unchecked, when propaganda replaces truth, and when the world chooses silence over action. Behind the walls of this secret kingdom, there are still millions of people who dream quietly, dangerously of freedom, mothers who whisper to their children about a world beyond the mountains, students who secretly tune in to forbidden radio stations late at night, fathers who risk everything to cross a frozen river for one chance at a real life. They are the forgotten voices of a nation trapped in darkness. And until the day comes when the lights of freedom reach their borders, the world must remember. North Korea is not just a dictatorship, it's a prison holding 25 million souls hostage. Because in the end, this story isn't just about one leader or one family. It's about humanity's capacity for cruelty and our responsibility to never look away.